You're seeing touchdowns all over the place. People are wondering, what is this? Why do this if you knew that you can't really defend against what's coming back your way, like imminently? So I don't know. There's a lot of things, and then of course we have the protests from some of the most affected areas of the country. When I say affected, I mean mental illness. The most deeply affected areas of the country. Irreparable mental illness. There's no amount of therapy. No amount of therapy that can help these people. And so we got that. There's all a bunch of news. I just want to know, and you can call in, tell me what lifted your spirits over the weekend, what tested your spirits over the weekend. I want to talk about it. We got the war. We've got the new war, I should say, brand new, fresh out of the box. We've got that. We've got the so-called protests. There was the military parade. What'd you think about that? I thought it was nice. I didn't watch it live. I saw a couple of things live, but later on that night I went back. I skipped through it. I just went throughout the eras of American history and all the wars that mark our progress. Seriously, it is funny. It's just like every generation has its major war, many of them just blending into each other. That's kind of like the unspoken thing in the military parade. That's the unspoken narrative throughout the whole thing that you kind of just pick up on and say, oh wow. Just you can see, like, there's a certain amount of there's slide showing. You ever see like those slide shows that'll take you through 100 years worth of fashion? So you go from the flappers of the 20s, and then you go, throughout the 20s into 30s, and all of a sudden in comes the beatniks and the hippies and this and whatever the hell. You just see that. Well, it's just the same thing, but it's with the United States military and the wars that they were fighting, because it never ends. But other than that, I thought it was great. We'll talk about that. You can call in with whatever you want. In the second half, we're going to have Jason Bermas pop in, because I said, I'd like to discuss this with him. The Iran standpoint, but also that it is Bilderberg's 71st birthday. That's going on. You want to talk about things buried under many layers of sediment and taken really out of the public eye. It's almost like Bilderberg is a secret again. There's so many other things that we're paying attention to, and yeah, but there's that. And then we have book club on the other end of the end credits tonight. So I hope you guys read. I hope you all have a good time. Tom Sawyer has been a really wonderful break away from all this stuff. What else was there? Oh, I watched the first 2 episodes of the latest season of The Chosen. I saw when those were coming out. It's The Last Supper. I think I'm pretty sure that this season doesn't include the crucifixion. But I saw that it was in local theaters, and I wasn't able to make it out. I wanted to go see it, but I wasn't able to go make it out. But there's 2 episodes that came out. Pretty cool, man. Just whipped all of the money changers in the temple. It's like, damn. He's very angry. Just shaking. Jesus is literally shaking right now. And then a couple more episodes come out this upcoming Sunday. So we'll see all that. I did confirm though that Spaceballs 2, Rick Moranis is back. Want to talk about a resurrection story? Rick Moranis is back. I don't think that he's done anything in decades. So Mel Brooks got Rick Moranis to come back for Spaceballs 2. What else happened? What else did I watch over the weekend while everybody else fell asleep? I watched Sidekicks again. When was the last time you watched Sidekicks with Jonathan Brandis and Chuck Norris? It's the first time I watched it as an adult, and it was really good. It really is good. As a kid, I was just like, I was a daydreamer too, and I would have loved to have been a ninja. That would have been great to go on. I love all the military missions with Chuck Norris, all the fantasies there. But now, I appreciate the dreamer aspect of it, and it's a really good movie. I like that movie a lot. sidekicks. Can't wait to show it to Aurora one day. I also, you know what the thing with sidekicks is too? There's just a wait. His use of the inhaler, Jonathan Brandis. You ever see it when he has asthma? His use of the inhaler was something that that's what I thought what having asthma was all about. It's just like every time you got nervous, you just started sucking down this pipe or something like that. So there was always a very strange. Then I learned, how often people with asthma are using their albuterol or something like that whenever the hell they need it. But Jonathan Brandis, his asthma is ridiculous in Sidekicks. And then I watched The Dirt Bike Kid. This is the last thing I'll say. That's the other like Peter Billingsley movie outside of a Christmas Story. The Dirt Bike Kid. I remember watching that when I was a little kid. My mother got it or put it on television, and she taped it on VHS or something. And it's just because I like Peter Billingsley. I like the Christmas Story. So when I saw, oh my gosh, Ralphie has a dirt bike, and it comes to life, and it really appreciates like being cleaned and all that stuff. I watched about an hour of it. And I said, all right, I've had enough. It's not good. There were some nostalgic parts, but it wasn't good. Hallmark was better. All right, anyway, that's it for right now. I want you guys to call in. 914-200-0269 is the open line tonight, and I'd love to fill in the whole first hour with you guys. If I can, that would be great. Whole first hour, it's you and I and some news from the weekend, and then we're going to bring Jason Bermas on in the second. So with that, you guys just sit back, relax, and just cuddle up and enjoy, and we'll kick this one off in style.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!
John Fetterman said, this parade is comprised of our sons, our daughters, mothers, and fathers, the very best of us. Regardless of your politics, it's appropriate to celebrate the 250-year sacrifice and dedication and service. Yeah. 100%. This is what I just don't I don't get it. I don't get it. Of all the shit that we actually waste money on, you think that this is the stuff that you would hope everybody would be able to celebrate every once in a while, but that was all glossed over. The 250th anniversary, that was all glossed over. I'm fine with that. I wanted stuff like this, but because that's what a healthy nation would do. But all of that is glossed over, and it was just dubbed a wasteful North Korea style birthday celebration for Trump. That's it. It's really pathetic. And that bled into how pathetic things were that we saw all over the United States with these the No Kings thing, which I'm sorry to go so generational with it, but this was a particularly old, and a lot of people noticed it, a particularly old, medicated boomer protest. Okay? Some of the younger ones came out, and there's also generational differences in the level, in the expression of how the mental illness. Okay, whatever conditions people have, it's expressed differently throughout the generations. It's very interesting how nice. It's just so nice and inspiring to see everybody just ill on different levels, and that's what we have. Well, here's a one for you. Who the hell is this? Morgan J. Freeman. Proud girl dad, a TV producer. He's a Democrat of some sort. MAGA. Hold on, let me put it up on the screen, and let me get up there too. Hold on. MAGA is trying to deny that this happened yesterday. Well, here are some receipts, F heads. Here's some receipts. Let's go. Let's see what the receipts are.
Are you coming to?
What's that? Chicago? Hold on. Wait.
Are you?
2 p.m. on Wacker Drive, Chicago. What is that? Oh, 1,000 people in Chicago? Even if it was 3 city blocks in Chicago, it's Chicago. Okay. No Kings, Santa Monica. I mean, it looks like your average gay pride parade. Is that Santa Monica too? No Kings protests in Dolores. It's San Francisco. It's San Francisco. They managed to get a few thousand people together in San Francisco, everybody. Did you hear about that? There you go. Look at that. Impressive. Impressive. Thousands fill the streets. No Kings in where? Philadelphia. I mean, that shot isn't thousands. That shot isn't thousands. Impressive. Philadelphia. What else do we have? Seattle. Oh my God. Look at that. Look at that. Look at this shot from Seattle. There you go. That looks like the quad at my old concert, at my old college when the Gin Blossoms came to play at Fall Jam. Is the Gin Blossoms playing all their greatest hits? Oh my God. You know, I can't. It's just so funny. Look, they'll try to ignore this. Ignore what? The election was 6 months ago. You lost badly. You still haven't even attempted to endeavor to explain where 10 million of you even went. Oh, I mean, I know some of you have in vague terms insinuated that Elon Musk had just deleted them. We've gotten that insinuation. But other than that, that's it. So who cares? Who gives a shit? And then when you get even closer to it, I have to imagine that this is New York. I grabbed a few of these before I went live. This is from New York. Let's
Last birthday on Earth, motherfucker! May this be your last birthday on Earth, you fascist motherfucker! Fascists go home! Dump Musk! Musk, ketamine overdose! Musk, ketamine overdose! Musk, ketamine overdose!
Okay, so he wants Donald Trump to die. He wants this to be his last birthday. And he wants Elon Musk to die of a ketamine overdose. This guy, who God knows what kind of pharmaceuticals are necessary of keeping him alive. Look at those fucking sausage fingers. Look at that. Look at that.
Musk, ketamine overdose.
Right, yeah, that's nice. Completely incoherent, completely ridiculous. And like I said, there's a generational divide between all of the between the people who are doing their thing. That was an old fat guy, an old guy, and now here's what the youth are doing. This chick, I guess it's a young girl. She has a mask strapped across her face. She looks like Baraka from Mortal Kombat with a hat on, and watch how this goes. So the truck that she's attaching herself to magically is not being restrained by her. I don't know how it's happening, but she's pushing against this truck. Okay? And and she's not stopping it. I don't know how it's possible. I think the issue here is that she doesn't have her feet planted. That's the real issue. She doesn't have her feet planted.
No! Let my people go! Let my people go!
Who's your people? Who's your people? What are you talking about? What is she, Moses? Mosette? I'm Mosette. Let my people go. What the fuck are you talking? Who? I need to know more about her.
Let them go! Let them go! Let them go! Let them go!
Hey, get off the truck!
Go!
Get off the truck.
Oh, yeah. There's your generations. There's the generations, my friend. Whew. Man, oh, man. I mean, come on. You don't want to laugh because it's serious. Yeah, I don't want to laugh. Seriously, a lot of the times it's nervous laughter for me because then I start thinking about what it's like to actually be inside of that person's mind. You want to talk about a prison? Good Lord. And then when the truck starts going away with her on it, she won't let go, of course. She's trying to free her people. This is what we get.
Stop!
Get out!
Stop! Get the fuck off! Stop! 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 You're gonna run her over!
So there's the generation for you. The younger person acts completely suicidal, no accountability, and then in comes some boomer off to the side. You're going to run her over. No, she's in front of a truck. This is not about what the driver is about to do. I mean, that's what I was saying. Do you want to see people flattened and pulverized in a street? No. But at the same time, when it happens, and it didn't happen with this girl, she was eventually pried away. But when it does happen, is the logic? Does it not compute? I mean, it computes the logic. I'm fine with the logic of why this shit happens, and who should be given priority. I don't know. Don't know anymore. Anyway, here's another one for you. This is from New Hampshire. Then we're going to start taking your calls. 914-200-0269. Anything from the weekend. Because remember, of our parting shots before we went away and we had our Friday morning coffee stream together. And that was to realize that this was coming. This wasn't going to be anything. Ultimately, what it came down to is that it was just it was a big flop. And it was a lot of mental issues being played out, emotional issues being played out for people, and it had no impact. There was nothing gained, there was nothing learned, and of course, if your brand demands you to show up to something like this and to cover it or to do man on the street stuff and to be able to provide that for people, so you can sidestep the mainstream media, who is going to do nothing but give you the bird's eye view of, a couple thousand people that got together in Seattle or in Chicago or somewhere in Santa Monica or whatever like that. If you actually wanted to get on the ground and listen to what is actually buzzing, to actually make an assessment, a diagnosis, I understand why you had to go out there. Thankfully, my brand doesn't demand that of me. But here's a little bit more. A woman... What was it? This guy was it's in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Take a look at this. Wait, who's this again? Bruce Fenton? Is this a guy? Is this? I don't think this is. Oh, yeah, Bruce Fenton. I highly recommend discussing, challenging, and sometimes trolling people you disagree with if you're able to. Take a look at this one. That's the Socrates of the left right there. That you're hearing, that is this millennia's, the Socrates of the new millennium. It goes on. But then again, I don't. What do we say? Keep yourself separated from it. You don't have to go running around. I was talking to you guys about a text exchange I had with a friend of mine on Thursday night. And it was one of those things where you just realize the basic disconnect you have with people that you are so close with that you still, you can call on and they'd be there, but you really got to keep a rein on what you talk about, because then it's nuts. It's nuts what that led to, that conversation from Epstein. Started off everybody's on the same page. I was talking with a friend of mine who noticed a friend of mine that I went to high school with my friend Alex Plitzis, who was on CNN to talk about just the logistics of what was going on in this, at the time, very brand new military exchange between Iran and Israel. I went to high school with Alex Plitzis. He's been in this studio many times, and it's been a long time since he's been on the show. But still, he offers up a lot of insight like that for the networks whenever they call him. So it started off with us talking about another war, and I think we were on the same page with just like this very base level understanding of everybody's fealty to Israel and Israeli geopolitical influence and all that stuff, and it's just like, oh, it just never ends. And all of a sudden we're on the same page with that. I said, okay, well, there you go. And then of course it gets to Epstein. It gets to Epstein. Starts hitting me with, Donald Trump's and the Epstein files. Totally. Like, I said, oh God. So I I navigated through that one. And then after I navigated through that one, then I just kind of like deferred to some kind of a comment about Congress really screwing us for forever on this one, and that we're probably never going to get anything we want with a Congress like this. I figuring, okay, let me give him something that we can commiserate on again, because the Epstein take is absolutely ridiculous, and I told him in so many words. But then he responded to the comment of the Congress thing with, yeah, well, American capitalism is the big zombie that's going to kill us all in the end. And I said, oh, God. Oh, my God. Oh, what do I do? You can't do anything. So obviously I'm not going to say goodnight. Not going to say goodnight. It's like Roger Rabbit and the shaving a haircut trick. I was like, just for the hell of it, tell me what does $37 million of fiscal operating debt, what is $37 trillion, I should say, sorry, $37 trillion. We're going on $40 trillion worth of debt. What does that and hundreds of trillions that has yet to be paid out have to do with the free market? That's taxing, borrowing, using us as collateral. Can you please, just you and me in this text message, can you make the connection between the free market and a government going outside every legal bound that was ever put in its place to steal from us? It was complete incoherent trash, and this is just what it is, man. That's what it is. And what manifests in the streets is usually something a little bit more crazy. And perhaps there are a lot of people just like my friend out there in the streets who show up and they're kind of calm, but then they get riled up by crazier people next to them. It's like the moth drawn to the flame kind of a situation. I don't know what gets brought out of them, but they think it makes sense, even though all they can do when they see a bullhorn is scream. They think it makes sense. That's why I said, if you can, and I pray that you did, you kept yourself far away from all the nonsense and just had a quiet weekend in any way, shape, or form that you could have. If you're a father, I hope you spend time with your family. If you have a father figure, anybody, if there was nothing in order for Father's Day, I know it's just another Hallmark holiday, but it's a nice one. Anything that you can spend some time with parents. I don't go out and buy cards. I brew coffee. You invite people over. That's nice, right? So I just hope you guys had something like that going on, because anybody who spent any time out there in the streets, gaining and learning nothing, God help them. Seriously. That they just lost at least weeks. They gave up like weeks. Something. It's like battery life just given away. But that's that. What was one moment this weekend that lifted your spirit? Okay? Or weighed you down? Well, I know it would have weighed me down if I had watched it. But that military parade actually was quite uplifting, if you ask me. So let's see what's coming on the other side of the phone lines. We'll start with a nice uplifting call from John from Connecticut. I couldn't even say his name yet, so he's already talking. Go ahead, John.
What do you say, pal? Can you hear me now?
I've heard you the whole time. Yes.
All right. Hey, yeah. So the uplifting thing. A friend of mine dropped off 3 dump truck loads, like not a huge dump truck, but like the masonry dump truck, like a 11-foot bed, right, with logs on it that were like 2 years old. Just dumped them all in my front yard. Big mess, right? But it's actually fuel for next year and dry season. How you doing? All I got to do is split it, and it was delivered. So that was a good thing.
That's awesome.
Right? And then the MAGA guy, right, shot up all these Democrats that voted for the Republicans, and the pizza guy, and all that story. That was pretty interesting. I love to see the 250th anniversary of the parade. That was cool. One of my buddies there, Batman, was there. Red Pill Ken was there. And some kind of girl, Soup Mama or something. You need to get Soup Mama on as a guest because she's Soup Mama or something. International or organization, I forget. But yeah, so it was pretty good.
Well, that's good.
My dad's been gone for a long time, and that's kind of sad. And oh yeah, there's hypersonics and they're blowing Israel up and all that shit. Yeah. Bilderberg happened something. I say, I don't know. I'm going to the eye doctor to find out why I'm going blind in one eye. So that's my biggest concern.
Well, I hope
I fixed the van too today.
I hope that your eyes are all right.
Broke. Yeah, me too. But it's been a thing for a while, and you keep washing your glasses on the one eyeball, right? And then it doesn't matter, man. You let somebody else borrow your eyeglass. Is that blurry? Nope. Yep, it's definitely the eyeball. Ooh, I went from whatever. I'm getting old. I'm 60-ish, 60 and a half almost. All right, kid. I'm glad you had a good time.
Yes.
And I forget what else happened. There was like earthquakes and shit.
You got to everything. You got to everything. I listen. I hope the eye is fine. I hope everything is okay. You just keep us updated with that. And thank you for the call again, Willie. It's good to hear from you. Yeah, I heard about the. Speaking of earthquakes, I think the Nimitz is going out to the Middle East. Isn't that the earthquake? Isn't that the sonic the geological weapon? Craft. I forget which one has all of the earthquake weapons on it. Is it the Nimitz? I thought it was. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. But yeah, this mystery in Minnesota. Minnesota lawmaker assassin apprehended after a multi-day manhunt. Vance Bolter, 57-year-old former appointee by Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, operator of multiple mysterious NGOs and suspected political assassin, was captured Sunday night after a massive multi-day manhunt. He's accused of murdering a Minnesota state lawmaker and her husband and wounding 2 others. You know, the guy that they're showing us is, I mean, I don't know. This is the guy that they're showing us. This one's off of Zero Hedge. It's a freaky situation. It happened at night. Showed up, knocked on the door, dressed as a state trooper or something like that. Had one of those masks on that Ryan Gosling was wearing in Driver as a stunt driver, and shot people. And again, this is a woman that was voting for removing certain kinds of financial assistance programs and benefits and all that from non-citizens as a Democrat. And she's very emotional too. I saw that as well at that video. I wonder if she knew she was in danger. We're going to get into that in just a second. Frank Zell, what's on your mind?
Oh, Frank, what's going on, man?
Oh, it's been a while. Hope everything's good.
Things are going good. I'm currently on the road, pulled off on some highway about an hour and a half out of Pittsburgh. Figured I'd give you a call.
Oh, well, that's great. Well, what's on your mind? I mean, there's so many things. You have this thing in Minnesota. You have Iran and Israel. You have so many things in between. There's a lot of synchronicity that links them all together. You got Benjamin Netanyahu begging Trump to get involved by saying that Iran was behind the assassination attempts. I laughed out loud when I saw that. I wonder if Trump actually believes that shit. What are you thinking?
Well, I mean, with the Israel attack on Iran, I mean, people need to calm down a little bit. I mean, Israel seems to be everybody's boogeyman, you know, They run the world. They run the banks. Every time Israel does anything, the internet freaks out. People on Twitter. It's conservatives and the left. That's the crazy thing. This is strict. This has been talked about for a long time. It was a military/weapon strike against Iran because they got close to developing a nuclear weapon. And they've been told a million times, you can't have one. You'll never be allowed to have one. Even their own allies, Russia, China, don't want them to have a nuke. So Israel, out of pretty much self-preservation, they have to do it because Iran gets a nuke, they're most likely going to use it, whether it be against Israel or an Arab neighbor who they have beef with, because that's how they act over there. You give them weapons. We funded so many Arab countries in the 80s with the level battlefield doctrine, and every time somebody got an advantage, they just went crazy with the weapons, and then we'd have to fund other countries to offset the ones we gave weapons to because they act like madmen over there. So, yeah, Israel did this. It's not because it's some kind of grand conspiracy and they want to drag us into it. Look, as long as there's not boots on the ground, take away Iran's nuclear capabilities, their generals, and if we got to help out a little bit, as long as we're not putting soldiers on the ground, I'm fine with it.
I'm actually surprised that you're fine with it. I really am. I thought that I thought that you would see this as a tipping point in the region. I mean, I understand that Saudi Arabia seems to be walking in lockstep with Israel on this, but even down to the presidential assassination attempts line, it does seem like a pressure being applied to bring us into something as well. And go ahead.
But we're not going to put boots on the ground there, Frank. I mean, we're not going to do it. The Nimitz is heading over there. Look, for us, it's all about keeping the straits open, the Strait of Hormuz. Don't shut down, as long as Iran doesn't go crazy and shut down oil production or try to shut down the oil routes over there, because then we're going to get involved. Because now you're affecting our way of life. We're not going to tolerate it. Whether it's right or wrong, it's geopolitical stuff, man. This is how it is. We'll get involved if our way of life is going to be threatening the way we do things. And Iran's not going to do it. They're not going to shut down the strait. They're not going to do it.
Let's see,
Iran. So, yeah, I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I have problems with the way Israel does things. Hey, look, that whole thing in October 7th or whatever day it was, when they happened to let all these terrorists come into their country and do what they did. Yeah, I never bought that it was just some massive security failure. Where we heard that one before? 9/11. That was their 9/11, and they probably figured out that there was going to be an attack, and they let it happen to achieve the goals that they eventually did achieve, which was decimating Hamas and Hezbollah. And that was the only way they could do it, by sacrificing their own citizens. Something that this country has done time and time again. So when everybody's bitching at Israel, we're the bigger villain.
Well, I would say when I was looking at all this stuff from over the weekend, I mean, the first thing I thought to myself, especially when I saw all of these missiles touching down in Israel, I didn't realize that Iran had those hypersonic missiles, because I started thinking to myself, was the Iron Dome turned off or something like that? And then I say, then of course, if it's just that it doesn't have the capability of intercepting missiles that advanced, then the next thing I asked myself is, if you knew you wouldn't be able to handle the retaliation, then why strike preemptively at all? I mean, we don't have We're never ever given any kind of intelligence. That's why a lot of us believe that the intelligence doesn't exist, and they just want to be able to make war where there is none. But of course, it always comes back to the question of whether or not the United States is going to stand in support and in a supporting role. And I don't know. With limited knowledge I have, I see this and I just say, here we go again. And
well, I mean, look, nobody wants to see it. You know, nobody likes war. Hey, I'm extremely anti-war, but I understand I can understand what they did. They're not sending in their military and you know and doing what they did in Gaza, and they're gonna all of a sudden do this in Iran. Nah, this was strictly to cripple their nuclear program, and that's it. But they knew it was coming. This is why they warned their citizens ahead of time. Get ready, because we're going to be retaliated against, and we're not going to be able to stop every missile.
Well,
that whole thing works. It works well, but you can't stop them all, man.
That's what we're getting right. What is this? This was just a little while ago. Donald Trump says everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. So this is that was just before I went live. That was around 6:30. That's when it started. That started getting around. So I don't know what's in the. I don't know what's
warning Americans to get out, or just warning everybody to get out.
Just telling everybody.
They're just going to level Tehran.
Said Iran. They said Tehran. Let's see here. Iran should have signed the deal I told them to sign. What a shame. What a waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. And, you know, that came out on the New York Post over the weekend, that he knew the whole time. He says, I always knew the date for the Israeli attack on Iran. I always knew the date, the president said in a phone brief interview, because I know everything. I know everything. I gave them 60 days. They didn't meet it. Today's 61, you know, today's day 61. So, I mean, there was a good cop, bad cop thing going on the whole time. Can't say that we weren't involved. We were the good cop. And,
we were the good cop. And Israel, you know, they're probably like, okay, hey, Don, you know, if you can get them to sign something, great. But we have come up with a plan B, and this is the date we're doing it by. That's what happened. He couldn't get them to sign. They enacted plan B, which was to take out the whole thing.
Okay.
So they didn't have to be concerned about it anymore.
What do you think? Okay, before we take some more calls, what do you think about the this very eerie assassination in Minnesota?
I have no idea what's wrong with this guy. I mean, is he a Democrat? Is he a conservative? Who the hell knows? I'm sure more stuff is going to come out. I paid more attention to what was going on in the Middle East than I did that shooting, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
but I would like to tell you one thing. Since you're bringing up stuff that made my weekend or made me happy, I found out that I can go shopping in a couple of weeks and get my T-shirts, some underwear, and a 38 special.
What?
All in the same place.
All in the same place, and with no permit.
No permit. None of a background check with no waiting period. I just walk out with the gun.
Good for you, man.
Well, I mean, Frank, I'm telling you, I thought I was going to hate Cincinnati. This place is freaking great, man. Ohio is great.
Are you going to become a Reds fan now?
Tremendous. Say that again?
Are you going to be a Reds fan now?
Frank, I am 12 minutes from my doorstep to the stadium, and the great thing is, downtown Cincinnati, where the stadium is, and then the next block is like where the Bengals play. Their downtown is so small, you can drive through it if you don't catch any lights in probably 60 seconds.
Wow.
It's like if there was an apocalypse and the survivors drive around downtown Cincinnati. Nobody lives here, man. Cincinnati's huge. It's the suburbs. It's like 272 square miles with 300,000 people. That's it. This place is freaking great. And everybody's packing. They start serving alcohol at 5:30 in the morning. It's crazy here.
Good for you, man. Good for you.
I love it, man. I feared it, but I'm glad I did it. I recommend you highly do the same. Get the hell out of there. It doesn't have to be Cincinnati, but go somewhere. Just not there.
Yeah, I know. I know what you mean. Well, listen, thanks for the call. And I know you just got out there, but I think a lot of people would love to see you and Jim show up to the September event. So you should see if you can put some gas money aside and drive out.
If what I have to do in Colorado and Denver falls through, I will be there.
I got you.
I'll make the drive. No doubt about it.
Okay, I got you. Well, I get the I can see what's going on there, and I hope it comes through. So, well, thanks for the call, man, and I'll talk soon.
All right, Frank, have a good one, brother.
See you later. There's Frank Zell. Let's take a call. 412. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, hey Frank, how are you doing?
I'm all right.
This is Eric Anglin from Pittsburgh.
Derek.
Yeah, it's
Derek. Well, Eric.
Hey, I was
Eric.
Good. Wanted to share with you something, I guess, a little good from this past weekend. My wife and I and our family, we went to the military parade. And I just wanted to tell you, ignore all of the reports about it being, a flop, that there wasn't high attendance. It is easily one of the biggest events I've ever attended, and probably one of the greatest experiences that we've had a chance to go to.
You know what, Eric? First of all, I was never going to listen to anybody with the whole it was a flop thing. They wanted it to be a flop. They want the shooter in Minnesota to be a Republican. They want to project the opposite of everything. Whatever the hell it makes them feel better about themselves. The real thing that got me is that there is more than and again, that's the other thing there too. They inverted the reason why there was a parade at all. In a parallel universe where we still have a common culture and we still have something to hang our hats on over here, everybody that was out that stupid, ridiculous group therapy session that you saw pop up in different cities with the No Kings thing would have been in Washington, D.C., and like grateful to be alive to see the 250th anniversary of anything for this country. And it would have been something that everybody would, in the 90s, that would have been at wall-to-wall coverage like it was the Olympics. And we would just have been, it would have been such a fun summer thing to do. We'd be talking about it in school. It would just be, all the teachers would just be taking the next year and a half and just making it part of their curriculums because it's just, I don't know. So that's the thing that gets me is when I was looking at it and knowing why you're celebrating, it's like, yeah, this is good. And this is what everybody should be paying attention to. And it'd be a nice little weekend thing to say that, well, wasn't that nice? It doesn't really change anything, but it's nice. But we don't hold those things in common anymore. So at least people like you and many of the people in this audience were able to go and get a little bit of enjoyment from that. And screw everybody else that wants to mischaracterize it because nobody showed up to their little pity party.
Yeah, that's it too, and it's a shame to see. After we got home, or at least I've been watching some of the media coverage just to see, how it's being viewed. And you're right, this should be one of those significant events in history. And but we got to see it firsthand, and more importantly, my two sons got to see it too. And I have to tell you, the energy in seeing the service members that were going through that parade, it was really a sight to be seen. It was amazing.
I loved it. Because I had to watch, 95% of what I watched after the fact. I was able to do, skipping ahead 30 seconds at a time, whatever. So it was great to see all throughout the different eras in American history. It's great to see the flyovers, all of the vintage and preserved and restored vehicles. And I just loved it. It was a learning experience. Everything was, it wasn't, everybody a big, praising the president or anything like that. It was actually almost like a showroom kind of a situation, almost like a museum had opened up its doors and all of the vehicles and all of the anything that was in the showrooms and on the displays were out in the streets, and people were being given the entire history of everything from the uniforms to it was great. It was really nice. But again, for those who had their heads screwed on straight, then they saw it for what it was. Everybody else, it was just Prozac time.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'll let you go, but one last thing. One of your shirts made it to the event. My wife was proudly wearing one of your Quite Frankly shirts.
Nice.
And we're huge fans of the show, but first-time caller.
Listen, I hope that you guys call in more often. If you have any pictures of you guys at the event with the shirt on, then send it my way. I'd love to, or put it into the submissions for the newsletter on the forum. I would love to have that in the July newsletter. Nice and patriotic.
Yeah, we'll send a few over.
Well, thank you so much. Have a good one, man.
You too.
See you later. Okay. Who's this, Zoso dude?
Yes, it is.
How the hell?
How you doing, brother?
Listen, before we ended last week's shows, somebody in the chat room said that you went through shoulder surgery. How the hell? What happened?
Oh, it's been long overdue, man. I had the full rebuild. About 5 years ago, I did the rotator cuff on my right arm, but my left arm needed the whole ball and socket. So
my mother needs it
done. I'm healing up great. I had a great surgeon. Everything's going good.
Good.
Really good.
My mother needs it done. She's thinking about it's her right shoulder. She's been waffling on this when she should get it done. She just got her hip done like 2 years ago, but she has to get her shoulder done. She's just worried about it.
No, I'll tell you what, this was easy. I got a great guy. I got the right guy for here. He's number 10 in the country, so
really,
I'll turn her on to him.
Good, yeah,
hey,
please.
man, I wondered on Saturday. I do a Saturday show, my rock and roll show, and after that, I came inside and I wanted to see what was going on with the 250th. So I scrolled around on my phone on all different platforms, or Rumble or whatever. I stumbled upon YouTube. I wondered if you saw this. Hopefully you didn't, because you got a life. But man, on YouTube, there's this new trend where they have these little live segments that pop up out of nowhere. It's people just broadcasting live, and you scroll, and there's like 10 of them in a row. So on Saturday, during all of the mayhem all everywhere, there's like 20 of these things. And it's young 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds. I don't know if they're Gen Z or whoever they are, but every stinking one of them has a sign. I'm not a Trump supporter. Are you? Call in now. And every one of them, people were calling in, but these kids were so arrogant. Inside of 15, 20 seconds of someone calling in, they were screaming and yelling, cussing at the caller, and hanging up on him, not letting them get a word in edgewise. Here they're trolling for Trump supporters, and then they wouldn't allow them a platform to say something. It was the most aggravating. It just really pissed me off. Did you see any of those stupid things?
No. You're saying so it wasn't they just put it into the shorts, the scroll there, like if you're watching shorts, all of a sudden
you would normally scroll shorts, all of a sudden all these
TikTok.
little live segments coming up were popping up, and they were every last one of them was left-leaning kids just demeaning Trump and demeaning the whole weekend and the whole thing. It was so aggravating.
YouTube is desperate than that. I mean, I haven't seen it personally, but I'm on I usually am looking through Reels a lot more than I am YouTube Shorts, but it's very obvious from the way that you're describing it that YouTube is desperate to get on the same wavelength as TikTok. That's all that TikTok is. I don't ever use TikTok. I post stuff over there, and that's going to be, I'm going to be delegating a lot of that too to some help I have coming on.
Krista and the others. Hey, I got one burning question for you, Frank. How the hell do you consistently get sober Willie Fix-It? When he calls into my show, not only is he off topic, all he does is make noise like rah, 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 rah. And I'm like, I was listening to him. It took me 30 seconds to recognize, oh my God, it's Willie Fix-It. It blew me away.
Oh, I don't know.
Blessed.
So tonight he was sober? He was sober tonight?
He must have been. You get the good Willie.
Yeah, well, you know what? There's a couple of times that he called in. I feel like it was like late spring or something like that. He called in a couple of times and everybody was like, Willie, what's wrong? Because he was just so very calm. He was very calm to the point where
normally you can't get a word in edgewise.
Right. But he was, I wouldn't call it sedated because he was very coherent, but he was just, he had taken it down a couple of notches. I was like,
articulate even. Yes.
John, are you okay? Anyway.
I'll see you in September, brother.
All right, man. I'll talk to you in a little bit.
Keep you.
See ya. Yeah, TikTok, that's what they do. There's these kids. That's where like you'll see people like Harry Sisson setting up. He'll be sitting on his chair and has glittery things all over the screen, and he'll be sitting in front of a microphone and just steamroll everybody that calls in. And it's a bunch of kids who don't know shit, who are just, I don't know. You hope that they go through some kind of a metamorphosis, like they come out of their cocoon one day and they have at least half a brain. We all do. I can't listen to myself from 15, 19 years ago now. Very hard for me to listen to myself speak and the way that I put anything together. Very hard. But I have a feeling that many of these people are going to look back at themselves at age 22 and be like, yeah, I still had it figured out back then. Like, no, you're just a dumb old fuck now. You should be a dumb young fuck. Now you're a dumb old fuck. All right? So that's just what it is. It's just, there's really not much behind it. So yeah, hypersonic missiles. This is the thing that I don't get there too. Look, this is what I was saying before. From the New York Post. Iran was behind 2 assassination attempts on President Trump. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu claims in a bombshell interview. And, people in the media were trying to float this garbage too really early on. I think it was last summer, which actually feels like 2 summers ago. So I guess maybe setting the stage for something like this. But of course, Bibi doesn't go into any detail of how it was Iran that was actually behind the BlackRock commercial kid wiggling onto the roof of a police outpost to set up shop and just kind of like be there for hours. Or not only that, how did Iran manage to convince the Secret Service to abandon rooftops with primary vantage points at the rally because it was sloped? How did Iran do that? Can somebody out there do that? You would think that the Secret Service lady who had to come out and make such a retarded statement about how they had the roof, the sloped roofs, and they couldn't set up properly and all that stuff. You would think that Secret Service lady who eventually had to resign after that retarded statement had to be made publicly, you would think she'd be much happier to say Iran was behind the whole thing and we have to get to the bottom of it. So I see this and just like, okay, did Israel have to act? Was this a do or die situation? How much of a threat is Iran? How much of a threat is Iran? And if they are a threat to the region, why is Israel the only one who has any motive of stopping them? Like there's nobody else? And then again, they're the ones that acted. But here we are, we're kind of lurking in the background. And of course, all these weapon systems are ours. And we are being at least attempted to be coaxed into this thing. Hey, listen, they try to assassinate you. You got to give us a hand. Be good cop to our bad cop. So I don't know. You want to talk about national security? I feel like nothing out there has anything to do with our national security. I just don't understand. Let's see. Over there on We have super chats that are open. I should have said that. Quite frankly, superchat.com. Or, of course, there's the YouTube and the Rumble Rants. Dan Schumann says, ask Mr. Zell if he thinks Trump should drop the bunker buster on Iran's main enrichment site. Shit, I didn't see that, Dan. I'm so sorry. I don't know what Frank would have said to that. But if he is of the opinion that he already expressed, I guess he would be okay with them achieving whatever goals they're going to have with as little effort as possible. And one of those well-placed bunker busters, as they call them, or a tungsten rod, would have been nice. Cohen. Oh, that was from 2 days ago. Thank you so much, Cohen. Thank you, Dan. All right, let's take a really quick break. When we come back, we're going to take a couple more of your calls, answer some of your super chats, and then we're going to have Jason Bermas joining us. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Keto Brainz is your creamy, delicious, no BS ingredients coffee creamer. It's your complicated biohacking, neurotransmitter optimizing stack, but deconstructed and simplified. Keto Brainz is a focus-inducing, anxiety-crushing, and body-energizing tool for daily use. I concocted Keto Brainz for myself because I want to get the most out of every day I have on this planet. And I refuse to believe that I or anyone else has to live in a place of feeling suboptimal or imbalanced. Change your brain, change your life.
Okay. So, let's see what else we have here. Over on quitefrankly.tv, Braves Piano, hello to you. Vesper says, can't thank you enough for your show and the book club, Frank. Thank you, P Quest and Sean Joe. Captain Flint says, I enjoyed No King's Day by going to The Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, with a live orchestra and choir. Amazing. Are you serious? That's awesome. A live orchestra, especially for that end battle scene? Or end battled scenes? When Theoden shows up. Singing, screaming death? The death run? Oh, man. With a live orchestra, that must be awesome. Congratulations. That sounds like a really great night. Aurora would love that. Aurora loves Lord of the Rings. So, hey, would you blow me? This is over on Rumble, the Rumble Rants. Says, Frank, I'm sick and tired of people calling them immigrants, asylum seekers and immigrants. They cross the river, not the bridge. Therefore, they're wetbacks. What about the desert crossers? My favorite part of the Tom Sawyer is, though his mind is not for rent to any god or government, always hopeful yet discontent, he knows changes aren't permanent, but change is. Well, listen, there's so many good parts in Tom Sawyer. So many good parts. I can't wait to talk about it tonight when Charlie comes on. And that'll be a good one. Let's see here. Haywood says again, in 1967, Israel attacked the USS Liberty to draw us into a 6-day war with Egypt and killed 34 men and injured 171, making it the most decorated Navy ship in history. I have that. Unfortunately, we don't do nonfiction on the show, on the book club, or else there's a lot of things like that. We could have done Attack on the Liberty. I have that at home. It's sitting right next to Behold the Pale Horse. Tommy Jekyll says, thanks for the snail mail note, Frank. It didn't have to accompany the Tesla truck you drop shipped. Yeah, okay. Fit me with the jester hat. I don't want Aurora showing up. Where's my electric car? Dad? I love sending out that stuff. I really do. I had somebody saying, Frank, thank you so much. It's so fun that you get, I forget how it was. somebody else that I had sent something out to. They said, I hope this didn't hurt you with shipping and whatever. I said, oh, of course it does, but it's fun. You know, on Thursday when we left, you know, I did 3 prizes for everybody. I don't know. We might have made somewhere around $150 of in super chats that night. Maybe a little bit more when you count some from Rumble and whatever. But when I shipped all that out on Saturday, it's like almost $80 worth of shipping. So it helps the bottom line. It's a net positive. We need all the help we can get over here because we don't, we don't pull in numbers like some other people. But it's just fun. I love giving things away, and it's a lot of fun. And as long as we cover the shipping cost, then I just think it's it adds a little bit of excitement. I can't wait to see who the winners are. And then all of a sudden, something that is physically in my possession is suddenly physically in somebody else's possession. And I like that. That's great. You know, not like an NFT or any of those digital bullshit things that everybody was spending did anybody out there make money on NFTs? I remember that was so huge. Everybody was like, you got to get in on NFTs. And they started showing me what they were. And it was like, you know, rare Pepe memes. I said, what's this? This is the NFT. Like nobody has this Pepe meme. This is a very rare Pepe. And I said, but what if I just take a screenshot of it? Then I'll have it. Yeah, but it's got like a digital code. It's like, I don't give a fuck about what digital code. What is that? Please just stop. Just stop it already. But when I send you an espresso cup that I picked out when I was in Maine, that's special, man. You can't put a price tag on it. Yeah, they're $10 a piece. But it doesn't matter. It came from me. There's love. Like when we serve Aurora food or something like that, and she'll say, Mom, did you make this with love? Did you put extra love in it, Mom? Of course I did. And she'll eat it. I can tell. That's it. We put extra love in it. Anyway, what else are we going to talk about? We're going to bring on our friend Jason Bermas because, I don't know, there's a lot going on all at once. And it was my knee-jerk reaction to bring in Jason Bermas because not only is there something going on, a new battlefront is opening up. We don't know if the United States is going to be officially roped in because it's not like they're uninvolved. And we have a whole bunch of nonsense over here in the United States with protests that don't matter. And then you have this strange thing in Minnesota where, you know, not to mention that Minnesota thing. I know we didn't get into all of the details, ladies and gentlemen, but the state of Minnesota, I think that they were going to charge whoever the hell the guy is, assuming that he's the guy, they're going to charge him with second-degree murder. And it wasn't until the DOJ heard about that and they intervened. They said, no, it's first degree. Because how can it not be premeditated? When whoever showed up on the front door is dressed like a state police officer, wore a mask, and that's not a crime of passion. That's a lot of planning. So that was very strange. But then again, it's Minnesota. Anyway, Jason Bermas is with us, and I'm so happy to see him again. How the hell are you doing, my friend?
I am doing really well. Excuse me. How are you doing, sir?
I'm all right. You know, things are just what they are. We have a hypersonic missile exchange over the weekend, an Iron Dome not worth a shit, apparently. And then, of course, but the big thing, the actual big reason why I wanted to bring you on, too, was the centerpiece of all this has to be happy birthday, Bilderberg, 71 years old. Holy shit. Well, you talk about things that fly under the radar these days.
Not only did it fly under the radar, but the people that were there really need to get their due because Charlie Skelton, he refrained from putting anything out throughout. It was like a 4-day deal this time. A lot of people were there on Thursday. Sunday is usually when they leave. I mean, normally you get about 2. A lot of people were there for 3 days, and it was just so important. They went on the Builder boat this year. It's not every year they Builder boat, but they Builder boated this year. And, you know, Charlie Skelton, who's now been doing this, God, it's got to be more than 15 years, really encapsulated it. When you have these billionaires and military industrial complex representatives. I mean, you have Palantir there on multiple levels. You have Anduril. For those that don't know that and who Lucky Palmer is, he's the cool hip guy in a Hawaiian shirt with an ironic goatee and a mullet. And he's bringing you automated drone weaponry, air, water, you name it, space, you better believe it, and all sorts of goodies. Of course, they're represented there. And Charlie talks about how, they're sitting there dining on some of the finest wines and cheeses, if you will, right as that initial strike in Iran happens. And, I've been reflecting a lot on this, Frank. And one of the things that I said was a real problem with Trump, even before he was the president in 2016, is I felt under the wrong circumstances, he could be just as hawkish as the neocons and get us into a war unwittingly. And let's start being honest with ourselves right now. We're now in about, 140, 150 days in, right? We're getting there. 30 days in, after he said he was going to take care of both Ukraine, Russia, and what else was he going to take care of? He was going to take care of the Middle East before he even got in day one. 30 days in, when all this wasn't happening, we have to start being adults and realizing, because I don't think the guy really wants to see dead kids. I think he believes his rhetoric. He can't stop this. He cannot stop this. We all know Joe Biden wasn't running anything when Russia attacked Ukraine, right? NATO is encompassing that region, putting military personnel, bases, operations right on the border. U.S. Special Forces and Mercs are all a part of that. The New York Times, as I think we discussed the last time around, finally came around to saying, well, actually, it was the United States and NATO and European nations like Germany and France that really plotted out the offense against Russia. They've been running the whole thing. No kidding. No kidding.
Yeah.
So where does that leave the president of the United States? If he can't just pull the funding, if he's got to sit there and pander to, a little Rambo Coke monkey and his minions on the Coke train, right? And keep going with this, that's not a good sign. And now let's get into Iran. All the fumbles and you know me, let me tell you something right now. There are some people that are like, yeah, they hit the IDF inside. You mentioned the fact that the Iron Dome doesn't work 100% of the time. It can't. None of these things can. There should be a wake-up call for everybody. And think about that.
Especially since we're hearing all this about a golden dome for us.
Which is just an update of the Strategic Defense Initiative and Star Wars and the Edward Teller projects that you don't hear about. You hear about the UFOs. You don't hear about the Strategic Defense Initiative. But the reality is it can knock a lot out. It can't knock everything out. But I'm not even saying they didn't allow that to happen, Frank. That's the sick thing. That's bad news, Brown, for everybody. You know who's got two thumbs and isn't rooting for anyone in this one? This guy. I'm rooting for de-escalation, okay? Because you got to understand, there are a certain sect of not only Israelis, but those in the military-industrial power structure, okay, military-industrial complex, and other people that are just like religious lunatics as well, a combination of them, that like seeing the IDF hit because they know that they can escalate this further. Insanity, my friend. So look, Trump's rhetoric against Gaza and saying that Palestine was over with no plan on what that even meant or to relocate these people, that was not a good sign. I said it, I think the last time on the program, you can't continually allow a nation, all right, to escalate warfare, not just in that region, but the supposed supporters, right, in Lebanon and beyond, and now Iran, hardcore, and expect them to stop. Look, the Greater Israeli Project is a real thing, right? I mean, they're kind of outwardly talking about it now more than ever. It may be under the guise of security, but I assure everybody, unfortunately, under this guise of security, it's just an escalation of warfare that with the wrong thing, there's already everybody talking about the deployment of this ship that's supposed to be decommissioned in a year.
The Nimitz.
Victor Boot, for those that don't know, Russian insider, prisoner in the United States for like a decade as an arms dealer, but really he was doing everything that those folks over in Bilderberg were doing on the other side, everybody. Just for just a small example of that. Back when people had half a brain and realized these things were dangerous. I mean, we're still in a time in the 1970s where there's rule by bloodline. So Prince Bernard of the Netherlands, and by the way, the King of the Netherlands was present yet again. He's also a big arms dealer. Shocking, right? So he gets caught up, and this is one of the few times Bilderberg makes the mainstream, in a huge Lockheed Martin kickback scandal. All right? And he actually has to resign from Bilderberg. And you know, big thing, of course he didn't go to jail. It's all slaps on the wrist, blah, 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 blah. Just as a side note to that, Frank, the big aspect they don't want to talk about with Epstein is that Prince Andrew was their arms dealer. And Epstein was a liaison as an arms dealer. War makes the world go around, brother.
Oh, that all went away too. That there is not a peep about all that in the last couple of weeks. But here's another thing for you. Well, I mean, the last time we heard a peep was when there was that little something going on between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. That was the last time we heard anything about that. But let me ask you about this. You're talking about the Greater Israel Project and what Iran means to the map of the Middle East. Now, I don't want to live in Iran. There's been times that we covered Iran before and after the so-called revolution and what it's like living under the mullahs and all that other stuff. But as far as that region goes, I don't know what the threat is, other than we've been told for as long as I've been alive is that there's a threat out there. And are they in any way, shape, or form a counterbalance to power that's out in the region? I have to imagine if they were an imminent threat to the safety and stability of the entire region, whether it was their neighbors that they're good friends with or neighbors that they have the heated rivalries with, that everybody would get together and have an intervention. I just don't know. For as long as I've had memory, it's always just been Israel versus Iran and all of their so-called proxies, both of them. And so I don't know if Iran goes the way that Benjamin Netanyahu wants them to go, then what does the region look like afterwards? Have you ever given that any thought, or what's in the white papers?
Brother, I don't know what the world looks like if we have some kind of warfare in Iran, like we did with Iraq and Afghanistan. And let's be blunt with ourselves. It's not 2001 anymore, bro. Okay? And they supply 20% of China's oil. Forget about their relationship with Russia. Forget about, for the most part, they have a first world military. Now, we do have better weapons than all that. But I'm telling you right now, Frank, I can't even imagine what it looks like. I cannot. Because you look what Gaza looks like, that's only because those people are essentially unarmed with no military. Ain't gonna look like that with Iran and the rest of the Middle East and Israel. All right? That's the other thing. What does Israel and the Israelis actually look like if they escalate this thing? India, Pakistan, that's a powder keg waiting to go off. I mean, when you talk Pakistan, there's an allegiance with us for the most part, and another first world military, but again, led around by us. So I don't know that I even have an answer, but I want to go back to something you said. Ever since you were a kid, there's kind of been this aura around Iran as being evil, right? Like when we were small, it was like the Ayatollah thing. It wouldn't be until I started really looking into these things that you would find out about the Central Intelligence Agency and quote unquote up with Mossadegh. and things like Gladio, and basically taking what was a pretty secular place
Yeah.
and bringing it back to radical Islam purposely to try to destabilize that region, right? And even in the Ahmadinejad years, when they were part of the quote unquote axis of evil, if everybody remembers that, that was Iraq, that was Iran, that was North Korea. You're kind of hearing that rhetoric again, reflavored at Bilderberg. And actually, again, Charlie Skelton does a great job of writing about this. And before he wrote about it, I actually discussed what they meant with their bullet point, authoritarian axis. So the main framing of the authoritarian axis right now, not the axis of evil anymore, it's the authoritarian axis, is China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran. And it's all heavily, heavily intertwined. The last thing that we want is some kind of direct military confrontation with either China or Russia. I promise you. I promise everybody. That would be the worst thing. And again, if something pops off, like I haven't even really looked into the Minnesota shooting that much, right? But just to give you an idea of just the media spin of everything, did you hear at one of these protests yesterday, a reality star got killed in the crossfire at one of those Kings protests from the quote unquote peacekeepers that were supposedly there for the Democratic protests? Did you hear that yet?
No, I did not.
Go check. I'm looking for video of it. It's nowhere. There's no video of this incident. There's 1,000 people there. Why are we focusing on this other thing that's completely and totally bizarre? Don't get me wrong.
Very bizarre.
Totally bizarre. But this other thing doesn't get a peep in most of the media. And the way they're going to frame it is going to be weird. Look, I still question Butler in the sense of where's all the video? Now, when you're up close to Trump, they don't let you have a selfie stick. That's for sure, right? They don't let you hold anything. But even like, one of the big things people were talking about was that woman that was holding up that thing. It was basically just holding up her iPad, filming the thing from the back. You know what I mean? Where's all the video from there? One of my big worries right now is that information of that nature is actually being managed a lot better than we think for some reason. I'm not sure how, but it's certainly not circulating. And I don't see the sleuths of yesteryear. Instead, I see people jumping on talking points and theories that are based in maybe one video or a frame of this or an article here, right? Now, I'm not saying that questioning is bad. Obviously, I do those sorts of things. But before I even get on about all of it, I double reference everything I can find. And then I think to myself, well, if this is what other people found and this is when it happened, I can cross-reference it with all this other material. And I do that first. You know what I mean? It doesn't happen anymore, Frank. Instead, yeah, go ahead.
No, no, continue. Because I know where you're going with this. It's good.
It's very frustrating because, like, with this case, with this guy, right? What have we seen so far? We've seen a crying roommate and him reading some text messages. We've seen some pictures of someone in a mask, right? We've seen
and there's differing body types. The person that is wearing the mask at the front door he seems a lot more thin, almost like a Michael Myers type of body type versus the person who's getting hauled. I don't know. Yeah, it's very strange.
I'll say this, there's also, supposedly a lot going on with the fact that this guy was like a 7-Eleven manager. Like Kurt Metzger was texting me late at night, and I'm just getting little pieces of this. And then all of a sudden he's somehow, making all this money and his wife is connected to the Democratic Party. There's a lot of weird stuff in that. But again, what have we seen? We've seen the media narrative. We've seen a couple pictures, right? And we're told these people are dead and this guy's responsible, right? Who knows? I don't know. If it's not that, what would be the purpose? People have to understand that black ops actually do exist and patsies do exist. And they've existed for, since the dawn of time and power. You know what I mean? I mean, you go back to Machiavelli writing about it. The Art of War, Sun Tzu. These things are happening. I think we got to have a lot of discernment. Now, that's a micro level. Right here, like I said, on a macro level, no one has reined in Israel, right, at all. Bilderberg is out there. Props to Dan Dix. Let's shout him out. Have you seen the video yet, Frank?
I know. None of it.
None of it? Well, he confronts Peter Thiel for 2.5 minutes, and Peter Thiel doesn't say a damn thing to him. He don't want to answer his questions. This guy's a steering member. And I'm sorry, Palantir's not a little company. Again, they're the ones that are driving this new artificial intelligence warfare. And not just in the sense of the drones that I discussed earlier, but in things like Lavender, where computers decide based on criteria and connections to certain individuals whether or not you are a terrorist. Now, if people can't grasp how dangerous that is and how they've already killed thousands of people overseas, just, again, take a step back to the COVID 1984 nightmare. Take a step back to all those people that were framed as domestic extremists and terrorists. And that same technology is going to be utilized against you.
Okay,
and
yeah.
It always already is.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, here, look, take a look at this. I have some materials that I'm building on some more AI updates, but I like taking this to esoteric levels as well, and also psychological, because that's where a lot of this is going now too. But here's something that came out not too long ago. For the first time, I believe this was last week. For the first time, autonomous drone defeated the top human pilots in an international drone racing competition. But it was the other statistics that came along with this thread that I thought were incredible too, is that drones are now 70% of battlefield casualties in the Ukraine war. And it goes on to even show how drone swarms can now fly autonomously through thick forests, which, we all know this is where it's going. And that's why I said,
Frank, let me stop.
Yeah.
It's not where it's going. It's where it is.
Yeah, where it is.
So let me give you a great example of what you just said and showed. That's commercial. They want you to know that now the kid down the block in a garage with the right software can program something that the best human being in the world can't deal with. Because now it's going to be on sale. And if it's on sale, Frank, you know as well as I do, just like this little device and any little hardware device, you can hack it. You can do all sorts of things. I would bring people even back to the original Kinect from Xbox. Like one of the things I did videos on, largely ignored, but people just hacked away at that. And there were these little robots at the time. I think they were like Asimov bots or something like that. And they were using the Kinect to control them with their body in motion, right? And that's something extremely commercial. I think the Xbox ran on something like 256 megabytes of RAM, everybody.
It's crazy.
Everybody who's got an idea.
Crazy power.
Yeah, that's power, right? So what really is going on, like you just said, drone swarm. So when I said Lucky Palmer, have you seen any of his stuff yet?
No.
All right. So Lucky's the new guy they're rolling out. I predict he's like the new Musk, the new Gates. He's going to be the new face of this thing. So Lucky Palmer, his story in a nutshell, everybody. He's the one that supposedly in his garage created the Oculus Rift. Now, I will say this, and remember, Oculus Rift gets bought out by Facebook, aka Meta. He ends up getting fired from Facebook. Supposedly, he thinks it's because he's giving money to Trump and the right wing. I don't give a rat's ass on the dumb insider fighting, right? Meta, who was that shepherded by? Peter Thiel. Okay, like literally, Peter Thiel has little mitts and fingers in all this stuff. Think about that for a minute. And Anduril is a Palantir project. So after he creates the Oculus, and I would remind people, DARPA has had virtual reality for years. When I talk commercial virtual reality, I can go back to 1997 or 6, and I was on my senior trip at Busch Gardens in North Carolina, and they had already very crude VR where you would step two players, you would step in, you'd put the goggles on, and it was, the side by side. SBS has been a thing for a very long time. That's what they use for 3D movies when you go there with the glasses. Same type of technology. So it's got the side by side, and you'd have the guns, and you were actually in a little thing where it would walk, and you actually felt like you were in it a bit. I mean, it looked like Nintendo 64 at best, and this was like arcade grade at the time, but it was there. So this guy commercializes that. Well, he's recently been on 60 Minutes. He's getting all these interviews. He's taking people out on boats, and he's advocating that Anduril and the United States need to become the world's weapons store. I cannot make this up. He says that's the real competition at this point. And that's another thing that I really need people to grasp, because China has been that authoritarian model. And when you look at something like Google, which is completely national security driven, top to bottom, folks, like really take a look at it. It is integrated heavily with China to beta test its stuff, right? For instance, when everybody was complaining about the Dragonfly internet, and Eric Schmidt was called out on that. Eric Schmidt, also at Bilderberg, also a steering member, also just national security all the way through, Department of Defense all the way through. Just anyone could just type it in. You can go watch a dozen different speeches of this guy in front of the intel and defense community. Okay, so that's what Google is. Dragonfly has been here. I mean, forget about it. Like, it's as censored as it gets. It's not Chinese style censorship anymore. All these things are censored. I mean, are you looking at the narratives that Grok is pushing? I'll give you another just quick, great example, and I hope you check this out. Have you seen the TMZ documentary on quote unquote United 23 on 9/11 yet?
No. Oh, wait. Is this that there was a fifth plane? Okay. I had looked into just a little bit that there was a fifth plane. Give everybody the nutshell of this.
So there is a portion of my 2008 film, Fabled Enemies, about a plane called United 23. All right. In my section where I show everybody that there was a lot more going on that day, and there were drills going on that day. So there were fake phantom planes that were hijacked on radar and people going off. And then they also found weapons on a bunch of planes. Didn't tell you that. Another big no-no. But there was one plane in particular. Now I'm going to give you what's in my film and then why you need to see this free. It's now free. It was under a paywall like last year when they did it. It's must watch. I mean, it just shows you how much you've been lied to about 9/11. So, Frank, as I've discussed many times, the planes that were hijacked on 9/11 were very empty. For a Tuesday morning flight, get on a Tuesday morning flight that holds 135, 140 passengers. And when you're at way less than half capacity on all of them, pretty scary, right? Guess what? Very low capacity on this plane, right? What happens is, before it taxis off, these people who, again, at the time, this is all I knew, that the stewardesses, the pilots, felt were going to hijack the plane, were like eager to take off. They get off the plane, okay, and then they go and they check out their luggage, and it's the same kind of luggage that supposedly was in ATAs. In other words, the Quran, the flight manuals, the Al-Qaeda stuff. Remember, that didn't make it from Boston to New York, where it was supposed to go. They found it. So they like matched. But then they said that they had false identities and they could never find these guys. That's all you knew.
Wait. You said that they completed their flight?
No. It doesn't take off.
Okay. Because they had a feeling about these people.
Yes. No. By that time, everybody gets grounded.
Okay.
Wait till you hear about the documentary they did. This is all I know for years. And you can go check it out in Fabled Enemies. There were a couple reports of it. And essentially they said they had this like matching luggage, but they had all fake identities and the authorities never caught up to them. So now let's get the actual story 20 plus years later by TMZ of all media outlets.
I know.
That should show everybody, Frank, the shit show that you are in when we talk media. And by the way, everything I'm going to tell you right now has never been addressed by the official version. So they get, I think, 3 stewardesses and a pilot from this thing. All the talk. All right. One of them hides their identity. All right. And they tell it like this, Frank. Very empty plane. All these guys are in first class. There's actually somebody in a burqa, full black burqa, who is a man, and they've got a small child with them as well. Okay? Pretty weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these are now the Muslims they're talking about. So in the reports, like from Fabled Enemies, they said Muslim in appearance, and they said he said he didn't quite know what that means. Now we know. One of these people was in a burqa, but they thought it was a man in a burqa. One person is just gushing sweat, apparently. Now, here's where it gets even stranger. After the plane gets evacuated, and they think that they have dodged a bullet, one of those planes where they find weapons on it is a plane that's next to that one, right? Like next call number. Now, supposedly they don't find any weapons on United 23, but the pilot and all the other women there, the stewardesses, when everybody gets pulled off the plane, they look out on the runway and there's people still in their plane. Gets even better. So later on, everybody took this extremely seriously. The FBI questions all of them, brings them into a room and asks them if they left the floor hatch open. And they're like, no. So now it looks like there were people underneath the floor where all the electronics are. Now here's the question. You can get on there by going on the runway after the fact. And it seems like the pilot thinks this, that these 2 people went up through the bottom of the plane and the hatch and went and got the weapons. I mean, that would be
what kind of weapons we talking?
Great question. Great question. It's never, ever really been discussed, but from the Dark Overlord documents, we're not just talking box cutters. We're talking a gun, supposedly fired. I'm just putting that out there. That was actually one of the initial reports. So we don't really know. In fact, in Fabled Enemies, I think it was like a Time magazine report, when they went to the officials that were finding these weapons, they were like, these look like inside jobs. Okay? Here's another possibility. A lot of people have talked about remote control planes, et cetera, et cetera. It would be a lot easier, I mean, if the hijackers were just a decoy and you had some kind of hardware underneath where all the electronics were to guide that plane wherever you needed it to go, whether it was one of the targets.
You're talking about something that's going to override the pilots no matter what? With the pilots, they can struggle all they want. They could be alive the whole time.
Just saying. Who knows? Well, if they're under, listen, there are 2 possibilities again. Those people are either in there the whole time, and this crew has no idea that they get on there, like they're there before they're about to take off, or the pilot's right and they were there to clear out the weapons and try to cover it up. Gets even crazier. All right. Now, remember, I told you that they never found these people. They gave a lineup to all of them. And none of the people they brought in on the lineup were any of the people.
That matched the description.
Yeah.
So no Muslim-looking people, or people.
I mean, they didn't describe it that way. They just said none of those people were the people that were on that plane.
Now, out of all the answers, or out of all the questions that don't have answers, is there any speculation as to where, the location, the destination of this particular plane? Is this supposed to be what hit Building 7?
I'll say this again in my film, Fabled Enemies. Paris Glendening, who is the governor of Maryland, goes on television and says that he got a list of targets, a dozen, that morning, and the World Trade Centers and the Pentagon were on them. Capitol was on there. He names off quite a few. I think the Sears Tower was on there. And then you look at Sander Hicks and his work on the big wedding. And there seems to be this shady Canadian intelligence operative guy that claims to be Office of Naval Intelligence that seems to have the identical list that Paris Glendinning has. So I think there was a lot more going on that day, obviously. I think that, I mean, on one end, I think there were some fail safes. In other words, you know, they knew that they were going to take out certain targets, but they also knew that the United States military, no matter what kind of confusion, the fact that most of them aren't in on it, right? Some of them aren't going to work. You know, and that's the big question. So, I mean, just people need to really grasp that your government, and by the way, Bob Kerrey, who is one of the demons of the 9/11 Commission, and you look up Bob Kerrey, who was an establishment politician, and actually, I believe he was a SEAL, not Special Forces. He was a SEAL, and part of the My Lai massacre. I mean, kill women and children, folks, like big time. And they ask him about this, and they just like, whoop-a-da-boop-a-da-boo. We just didn't have the time and resources. And then they got this other expert in the documentary, and they ask her what she thinks about it. She's like, yeah, anything that wasn't like that they couldn't explain, they just didn't even bother.
I wonder, from what you're saying right now, I wonder how many buildings around the United States were actually rigged to explode in some way to complete the demolition, as we saw in places like New York, that never had their payload delivered and therefore were just slowly disassembled and like backed away. I don't know, because like when you're talking about this, when you say again, the flight 27, 23, what was it again?
United 23.
United. So you think about that, you think, okay, well, where the hell was that going, and what was and what was going to assist it? Just like we were talking about with the two towers, and we just had Richard Gage on the show back in May to talk about things, and you know, I again, we spent so much time on Building 7 again. I'm just like, that couldn't have been what they were going to sell people the entire time. Office fires, and it just comes down.
Say this again. Think about this. They can have their narrative on Building 7 all they want. Their narrative is that Muslim hijackers took planes over and rammed them into buildings. And now you're telling me a bunch of Muslim hijackers got away on 9/11 and no one talked about it, and there's no FBI reports, and yet these women, this man, they all talked to the police and the FBI. The officials were there. I mean, they have treated us like redheaded stepchildren. They're ready to traffic and throw in a closet for the rest of our lives for a long time. And the fact that I mean, Frank, on top of that, you know, another thing that's in none of these official reports and nobody cops to is that our government is at the scenes of the crimes as they happen in doomsday planes. You know, the E-4B, even Anderson Cooper did a piece on this many years ago, was clearly spotted in D.C. as the attacks happened. A lot of people go, well, you know, they knew the Pentagon was a target after the World Trade Centers. There is another E-4B in New York City before the second plane hits on camera. So, I mean, why don't we have that footage? Why don't we know what was going on those E-4Bs? Why don't we still know all these drills? You know, why don't we know who these people on United 23 were? Why are we waiting for Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and the gang that have been tortured in Guantanamo Bay now for more than 2 decades? For whether we're going to convict them of this crime or they're going to get the death penalty. It's bonkers land, man. And with this idea of a war on terror and us getting more and more comfortable with military action against Muslims and Muslim nations and the constant rhetoric against Iran, this all integrates into that. We're
does.
in a dangerous town.
It does. And you know, and hearing the hearing a lot of the overtures made at this point, like I know everybody's talking about the Nimitz is going to be retired soon. So the first thing that popped up all over the place was guess what's going to be sunk next? You know, what are we going to be having here? Or like I was talking about before you joined the show, this ridiculous report of this interview that Benjamin Netanyahu did, where he obviously, and I'm sure he told President Trump this as well, that the Iranians were behind his assassination attempt in Butler, which it's just laughable when you think about what happened and didn't happen in Butler, and how that means that the Secret Service is under the control of the Iranians now. It makes absolutely no sense. But again, there's a public overture being made to coax us into this operation, because it is, hey, this is a mutual enemy. Yeah, maybe they haven't attacked America yet, but they have attacked you personally, Mr. President. And I thought that was just, I really hope that Trump doesn't fall for shit like that. But there's other things there too. And I don't know how much you pay attention to this stuff, but the synchronicity that I've seen over the last maybe 3 or 4 days is really something else, between this guy in Minnesota who worked for, like 7-Eleven and all that stuff, but then he also worked for these interesting NGOs, this one security company or whatever called Red Lion. Then you have the Rising Lion, Operation Rising Lion, that's what Israel has launched against Iran. There's all these King Leo Lion No Kings protests, military parades. There's so many surface level synchronicities over the weekend. I'm sure our numerology friends are having a field day right now, but there's just way too many lions running around over the last 3 days or so. I just wonder if you ever take note of stuff like that.
I try not to. I'm a Leo myself.
Oh, there you go. So you're in on it. You're in on it then.
What's that? Yeah, it must be. I do think there's always something in the ether, and there's something to be said about these quote unquote synchronicities. But I think that's kind of again, that collective consciousness. And right now, not looking so good when you look at kind of the, I would say, the repercussions and the actions, a lot of those things that people are talking about. I also think, that people love to find patterns and that type of recognition. But like you said, a lot of really bizarre things at once surrounding that. But, the lion's been used for how long? It's one of the reasons I hate the new, R.I.P. king. It's like, no one say that about me. I never want to be a king. I don't want to rule over people. I don't want to wear a crown. I think it's repugnant. Or rest in power. Really? Rest in power? I want power over my own life and the power to do good things, but I'd rather be peaceful, right? All these little things that have even changed culturally, Frank, that's what I kind of focus on, and how they've done so and slid over the years. But again, with the esoteric stuff, me and Metzger were talking about lesser and higher magic for quite some time last night. In fact, people could check out a really fun, almost 2-hour interview I just did with Kurt, and it's a good one.
Wow, I had not seen that. I love Kurt Metzger. I love his work. I love his work just with Kyle Dunnigan. That's why I had seen him on Kyle Dunnigan before I realized that he did such work so closely with Jimmy Dore. And so I only knew him from a comedy perspective before I started hearing him dish on geopolitics, and that's great. I got to check that out. You guys know each other a long time?
No, I think that was probably 2-3 years. Met him through
that's cool.
A buddy of mine who was a comedian who was opening up in Wisconsin. My brother actually happened to be here in the Midwest, so we decided to drive out. Met Kurt in person. At the time, he was kind of jabbing at me a little bit because of the 9/11 stuff. And now Metzger's we're talking about the Matamoros and Brownsville murders and, mind control and all sorts of stuff. It's a fun, almost 2-hour interview. On top of that, Frank, I had G. Edward Griffin reach out to me after Andrew Callahan of the quote unquote Channel 5 news station put out something on his Red Pill University. It'll be like 2 years ago. I went to this thing in August, right? He just put it out a couple months ago.
The expo?
Yeah, I went to the Red Pill Expo with my friend Pat Militich. I wasn't speaking or anything, but
I saw this. I saw this clip you're talking about. Keep going, yeah.
Yeah, so like many years ago, I put out the clip of me and Andrew, but he never put anything out. And of course, G. Edward Griffin, after seeing the piece, was not happy about it. So he reached out to me, and we just had a great, almost 2-hour conversation as well. G. Edward Griffin, we not only talked about obviously that piece, but what was going on in the world, the future of the Red Pill Expo, the fact that people have to take more action and kind of got to get away from the hopium. We talked about the rhetoric sounding really good out there, but what's happening right now? The man is as sharp as ever. And again, I can't recommend it enough. I hope people go check it. It's on all my platforms. So whether you watch it.
You were covered recently. It was, what the hell was it? Somebody showed up to one of his, I don't know what the hell it was, but you intervened talking about how, G. Edward Griffin's an OG, and it was really good to see. I've had him on the show twice. He's going to be on for his third appearance in July 17th of this year. And what's that?
G. Edward.
G. Edward.
Awesome.
So I mean, I would love maybe you can jump on that call or what the hell, or even just like jump on after he leaves just for some comment. I don't know, but that's going to be really great. I wanted to at least have 3 sessions with him because he's still very busy. He's in his 90s, but he is. He works tirelessly.
Yeah, it's inspiring, right? Like I always tell people, you got to look in the mirror. And you got to be your own hero. And I try not to have heroes. But if there is somebody that I truly admire for their work ethic, for their stance, for their literal, it cannot be emphasized enough how much impact on the culture over the years G. Edward Griffin has had with his books and his films that now span decades, whether it be The Creature from Jekyll Island or the interview with Yuri Bezmenov that is still shown to this day. That is somebody, I had no idea when I first got into this about G. Edward Griffin. It was, I started to get into this. And as you find out that this guy was doing these things in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. G. Edward Griffin, I think he's also featured maybe in the first or second Zeitgeist as well as a young man in some of his lectures. It's really incredible. And like I said, he's still around. I want to go kicking and screaming, Frank. I'm not one of those guys that says pull the plug at 72. I would love to be in my 90s, still doing this type of work. Because look, no matter how good it gets, there is no quote unquote winning, everybody. That's something that everybody needs to grow up and understand. If there's anything that I've learned throughout all of this, I don't have a lot of beliefs. I'm not going to pound my religion on you. I will say that good and evil exist, and it is a constant battle. And I would love to just be involved in trying to do the best job I can in not only doing good, but promoting good for humanity, promoting peace, promoting prosperity through individual achievement, promoting community that isn't forced, but instead felt, right? For instance, we talk about the difference between collectivism and kind of utilizing the collective around you, not through force, which that is collectivism, but through friendship, through partnership, through barter, etc., and building those communities. That's the type of collectivism that we want. So, and that's what he's done over all these years. Before Red Pill University, he was Freedom Force International. And he's done a dozen things before that. So props to G. Edward Griffin, and he's just got the right mindset. God love him.
Yeah, absolutely. The first night he was on, I actually had to talk to him about that because thinking about that era that he came out of, and how you consider how easy it is for anybody to be able to build a following right now and get a message out on their first. I mean, you can hit the lottery on your first video if you say the right thing in the right way, and all of a sudden everybody's talking about you, and there you have it. But he comes from a generation where you are writing books, you are publishing pamphlets, you are doing the grueling work of showing up at flea markets and VFW buildings, and you, I mean, it is, you want to talk about grassroots. That is when the biggest right-wing threat to the country was the John Birch Society. And, it's just, I don't know, it's a very romantic era to think about, because you didn't even really have an open door into talk radio until like the 70s, 80s, and 90s. But at the same time, I can see how it was also a dark age. I mean, you want to talk about trust in media? We have an advantage right now. Things are chaotic, but trust in media is almost non-existent. Back then, if you smelled smoke and you're looking for fire, and you realize that there is a global level humanity influencing plot that is afoot, it's very hard to get people to see what you're seeing back in the 60s and 70s. Everybody is they're tuning into Walter Cronkite, and that is the truth. And that is where people like G. Edward Griffin laid down the foundations for what we're doing today. And it's something you got to really appreciate the time and of course the longevity, because he's still going. Anyway, Jason, we got to do this more often. I always say thank you for the time tonight. Let everybody know where to find you tomorrow and the day after.
Yeah, at Jason Bermas everywhere. Bermas. That's how you spell it. For some reason, Frank, it's incredible. I'm not monetized on YouTube, but maybe that you heard Dan Dix got his channel back, Press for Truth. Corbett is back on YouTube. James Corbett got his channel back.
Wow.
And literally now, for the first time since around 2020, I am gaining subscribers. In the last 3 months alone, I have now gained over 800% more subscribers than I have in the previous year. So for whatever reason, I'm trying to reach as many people, including the cat people out there, also on Rumble, also on X. And honestly, you follow me on X, you're going to not only find the videos, you're going to find a lot of the raw stuff, and you're going to be able to interact with me. And look, I'm asking people right now, please show me the video of this reality star getting shot. There's got to be some video of this. And I can't believe it's not being talked about more in the media. Be the change you want to see in the world. Again, be able to look in that mirror and be your own hero. That doesn't mean you got to do what I do or what Frank does. You got to get your own house in order first, but that's a big part of it. And then you got to keep on trucking. Eternal battle, my friend.
That is right. Jason Bermas, check him out, and he'll be back soon. Thanks again, Jason. There he goes. All right, everybody. So listen, here's how we're going to end tonight. I'm going to read through your super chats, and then I'm on my way, because I have Charlie Robinson joining me very shortly to do session 3 of Tom Sawyer. All right, let's see. Swickly says someone needs to make the username, "Hey, I would blow you. Happily ever after." Well, Swickly, go right ahead. Go get a Hotmail account. Get a Hotmail email opened up and go do it. Amethyst Cat, thank you so much. Willie Fix It, thank you so much. The Sentinel says a belated happy Father's Day. We missed the first half of the show and we'll enjoy watching the replay. Cheers. Oh, it's full of heartwarming things, like people screeching and strapping themselves to the front of tractor trailers and having no hope in life. So that's it. A lot of hopeless people in the first half, but great calls, of course. All right, over on Rumble, let's see. Did I get everybody over there? I think I did. John Volt says, Frank, Jim Kunstler just emailed me back and agreed to be on your show. Time and a place. Awesome. Oh, well, if that's the case, I'll be looking for you in my email, and that'll be awesome to have him on the show. Rev says, John from Connecticut now has a new name, One-Eyed Willie. Oh, no. I want him to have 2 eyes. Right, Willie? Don't lose that eye, Willie, or else people are going to call you One-Eyed Willie. All right, and Jay Britt says, is Lindsay in Israel yet? Lindsey Graham? Probably. Pray for Israel. Joe Martinez, thank you so much. Thank you very much, everybody. It's good to have you out there, and I'll be back with you all tomorrow. Thank you, Delona, for sending the cookie over. I'm releasing the scratching, and I will just say before I leave, if you enjoy this show, I mean, as far as YouTube growth and everything else goes, we have I have some pretty exciting things starting up in July. That's been necessary for a long time, and I think that we finally have a solution to a much needed media problem, and we will see. We will just see. We got to break through, and one of the greatest ways, thankfully for me, even when I only had less than 1,000 subscribers, I have been blessed with an audience that I got a real energetic spiritual connection to. And there's always been a wonderful amount of enthusiasm and loyalty, and I have poured as much of myself back into this show every time it comes back toward me. And regardless, I thank you for your support. And for those of you who have not become sponsors and are thinking about, hey, how can I have it done? How can I get in on the summer craziness or whatever? Even just $5 a month at quitefrankly.tv/sponsor. All of your options are there, or all the links are in the description below in this episode on Patreon, Subscribestar, or directly through the website. Very little goes a very long way. And if I can just, I've been using that 1% number. If I can get 1% of this audience to jump on again, 1% on top of the about 1% that's already there, we're going to be flying high, man. I got to bring on a little bit more help. I need a little bit more in the coffers, and also we have to defend ourselves for some crazy desert-dwelling freaks out there who think that they can take people's fucking life's work and turn it into some kind of a live, laugh, love bullshit. Fucking forget about it. Support the show. Support the show that you love. I show up every night at 7 o'clock because I love this, and if you love it back, a little love goes a long way. And we're always going to send you stuff. We got amazing perks, universal perks for everybody. Remember, if you sponsor through the website, that members only section on quitefrankly.tv, that's for you. And I've been sending you emails about what your password is. That's where I post pictures and videos and all the stuff that I put on Patreon and Subscribestar. It's there for you. So everybody has the same stuff now. Lauren and I worked very hard to make sure that that's the case. So look into that. The members only section is wonderful. And I will see you guys tomorrow night. It's going to be a good one. I think we got Ashton Forbes on, and possibly Brendan Dilley, but we'll see. We'll see. I have to move some things around. Some things are going nuts, but this week is going to be chock full of amazing shows, and I'm glad that we kicked it off tonight with the people that we did. All right. Have a good one. Book club, assemble.
I'll catch you on the flip side.